What if you could go from struggling to walk 30 seconds to leading a movement that helps people walk into a brand new life? Today's guest, Sheri, has lived that journey from battling obesity since childhood to reversing prediabetes and reclaiming her health. Sheri's story is an unfiltered as it is unstoppable. At over 350 pounds, she wasn't just fighting for weight loss. She was fighting for worthiness, identity, and a future. She turned her pain into power, her losses into legacy, and she founded Master of Bad-Assery, a mindset movement for anyone ready to stop making excuses and start making moves. In this episode, we're getting real about what it takes to make a change, why doctors sometimes miss the mark, and how mindset trumps motivation, and what small shift you can make today to reclaim your power. But before we get into this episode, y'all already know what time it is. With me, y'all.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
I felt like that was such an amazing intro. You inflated my ego. I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. I am so about your energy.
Welcome to the Good Vibes Studio, Sheri.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all, it's your Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach Jovonnie, host of the Empowered Place, Empowered Lives podcast. And we're diving into this conversation about mindset. So, Sheri, take us back to the moment when you realized life had to change. What was your emotional state when you decided to give yourself the 6-month window?
Oh, man. So I think it was like 2012, I had lost my god brother unexpectedly. He was 27 years old. And him and I, growing up as kids, we were always the ones that were always the biggest ones. We were always trying to lose weight together, even at 10, 11 years old. And when he died unexpectedly, like obviously that rocked my entire world upside down. And then a few months after he passed away, I had happened to get blood work done at the doctor. And the doctor came back and said that I had type 2 diabetes, like the beginning stages of type 2, fatty liver, and high cholesterol. And after having just watched what happened to him, scared the crap out of me. And so in the doctor's office, she was writing me prescriptions for like 5 different medications. It was diabetes medication and cholesterol and this, and then blood pressure medication. I'm like, well, why am I taking blood pressure medicine? And she goes, well, if you take this medication, it causes an elevation. It was like 5 or 6 prescriptions. And I said, look, like this is enough of a scare. Because at that point, we thought that we were invincible. We thought that we were immune to these things happening. Let me take it seriously. Give me 6 months. What happens if I can just, cut everything out for 6 months? And the doctor said, well, at this point, even if you lose all the weight, you're going to have diabetes for the rest of your life. And I don't know, like my family's Italian and I'm quite stubborn. So it was like the minute that she said that, something just switched. And so when I left the doctor's office, I told my mom and my husband, I said, give me 6 months. Give me 6 months to do everything right. And if after 6 months, if I can't change anything, I will accept my fate for the rest of my life. I will take the medication and this will just be the consequences of my actions for 30 years. And I did. I took 6 months and every single day I went walking. I cut out sugar. I cut out garbage. I cut out junk. And the first month, like most of us on weight loss journeys, you lose 20 pounds. You're on fire. You're like, yes, this is what it's all about. And then the next month happens and the scale doesn't move. And normally for most of us, when that scale doesn't move, we have the attitude, well, what's the point? I might as well go back and eat what I want and not quote unquote starve myself. But this time around, my motivation was different. My mindset was literally fixated on proving a doctor wrong because she upset me so much. So most of us, when you have that first month or two where the results stop happening, that's when we start to cave. But this time around, my mindset had shifted because my sole focus was not about the scale per se this time. It was literally just to prove the doctor wrong. That's all I wanted to do was the health scare enough was I didn't want to live with diabetes. I didn't want to live my life on medication. So even though the scale wasn't moving at that point, I spent 6 months and I was consistent. And then 6 months later, I went back to the doctor. They retook my blood tests and I was sitting in her office, and all of a sudden she goes, "Well done, Sheri. There's no more diabetes. The cholesterol is normal and the fatty liver is gone." And I was so elated. I didn't care about the scale at that point. It was like I finally did what I said I was going to do. I was taking control of my health. And she goes, "See, Sheri, this is why it's so important to take the medication." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even fill the prescription." And it was like this little like jab to her that I want to make it very clear to people, I'm not anti-medication. People who need to be on medication, the levels that I was at that time was not detrimental to my health if I not taken the medication. If the numbers were much higher and it was a more serious matter, then yes, I would have done what I needed to do under doctor's care. The numbers were so just barely above the line that I needed to prove to myself that I could overcome this. And ever since that moment, after 6 months, the scale just did not move after that. But it wasn't for lack of determination. It wasn't for lack of mindset or willpower. There is just something going on in my body. I spent a life with PCOS, which women who have PCOS know. It can prevent weight loss. You know, you can have a lot of complications every single month. You have a lot of weight gain. And so I just assumed that maybe that was it my whole life. And then that was why in September of 2014, I had gastric sleeve surgery. So 11 years ago. And since then I lost 175 pounds in the first year and a half, and pretty much maintained for years after that. And then stress and life and family, like we all go through, I had a nervous breakdown in 2017. And this time I took medication because I had no other options. And then I gained 50 pounds in a month and a half from the medication. And talk about a mindset challenge is I was torn. I had a medication that was bringing me back to my former version of myself and causing weight gain. But is it more important to focus on the scale in your weight or to focus on your mental health? So in that moment, the scale just didn't matter at that point. My main focus was to fix my mental health and make sure I was in a good place. And it took me 4 years to get that weight off again, but I got that weight off. And 11 years post-op, I'm about 20 pounds different than where I was when that surgery took me. And it's been a heck of a ride, you know, ups and downs between now and then, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
I appreciate you walking us down that 6-month moment of pretty much badassery, right? that is the vibe when it comes to the mindset, because I think it's one thing when you get a diagnosis or you get an understanding of what the state your body's in, especially after a loved one has passed away of health complications or things that, you know, impacted their life. And so the chip on your shoulder wasn't more so like, oh, I want to get better, but it's more so I'm going to show you that I can do this without having to just take prescription drugs. Like I can do this. I could change my life. And so I really appreciate you walking us through that, and then being real with the moment. Like at first, when you jump starting something new and you're shocking your body with a whole, you know, different vibe and different lifestyle habits and different routines, it's going to say, okay. And you lost those 20 pounds in that first month. And in that second month, when the scale doesn't move, you're right. Sometimes people cave at that moment when things no longer are effective. They feel like the habits that they've adopted and the things that have changed is no longer aligning. But your body sometimes needs different things over time. And you have to get the understanding of what state is your body in, your mind, your soul, your spirit. And so I really feel like what's happening on the inside. So I'm really glad that you broke that down to the fact that, you know, I didn't cave in. I got the results. Scale wasn't moving, but I did great for 6 months. That she thought I took her medication. I didn't. I did it on my own. That instead of medication, I chose mindset. And then I had different choices that I made. And then I love the part where you come in with, you had a nervous breakdown. Life changes started happening. And you didn't gain the weight. It doesn't sound like you gained the weight through picking up those bad habits of getting to the junk, the sugar, not movement. it really came from the nervous breakdown, but most importantly, the medication that caused the weight gain. And I think sometimes we don't give enough attention to the effects or the side effects that medication can bring when they are being taken to treat one thing or help with one area. What other things are they kind of pushing off or moving off or causing a problem for? And you knew you needed the medication because you knew mentally and emotionally you needed to be well. You needed to navigate through life day after having that breakdown. But even with the sleeve, you didn't just have the sleeve and go back to how you were living. You still were very intentional on what it looked like to truly live with purpose and continue to move towards the life that you knew you deserved. And so I'm really grateful that you walked us through that in regards to that mindset shift. And you pretty much told us what that looked like. And you didn't. So what impact do you believe played a role on your self-worth and your willingness to really start advocating for yourself after you kind of took that chip off your shoulder about I'm gonna do this without medication? You're seeing the shifts.
Yeah, I will say that one doctor was definitely a turning point in how I wanted to approach things. Like when you're faced with some kind of a roadblock or a complication. When I had my nervous breakdown, it was panic attacks, but it wasn't just like a random panic attack when it was work. It was waking up in a panic attack the entire day in a panic attack, this disassociate. And I knew what was causing it. In my life, there was a lot of family things. My grandmother had dementia. I was the one taking care of her. I was watching the woman I love go crazy. I started going crazy. And so I knew that my situation was a situational thing. It wasn't necessarily like a clinical, diagnosis. And so I was one who, before I didn't want to take the medication, but sometimes it was outside of my control. I had to do something now. And so when I took the medication with the intention, I need to figure out what I need to do so that I don't have to stay on this. I didn't want to be reliant on this for the rest of my life. And so another doctor, months had gone by and I was in a really good place. And I knew that the situation that put me in this place was dissipating. I didn't say I wanted to cut it cold turkey, but I wanted to start, kind of like dissipating it a little bit and just start weaning off of it just to see how I can do to prove how strong enough I was. And the doctor said, well, if you take the medication off, you're going to have panic attacks for the rest of your life. And I was like, what is it with these doctors that have like this all or nothing, diagnosis? So I told him, I said, look, I would like to take my chances and prove what I'm capable of, just using my mindset and doing the steps that I needed. It didn't just mean like wean off the medication and then everything's honky-dory. No, I went through therapy. I went through journaling. I started doing whatever I needed to do internally to learn stress reduction techniques and to focus on my mental health. I didn't want to just rely on a medication. So I finally eventually weaned off the medication. And for 5 years in my purse, I had 2 pills. It was Ativan at the time. I had 2 pills in my purse for 4 years. And it was almost like this weird security blanket that, God forbid, if I was in a situation somewhere and I couldn't mentally come out of it, then I had it there. But every single time since then, I've ever come close to feeling anxious. You have like this PTSD moment from what you had gone through. And I would look at the pills and I was like, I'm stronger than this. And then I would focus on deep breathing. I would focus on, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that they talk about with anxiety. And I would do light exercising. And I knew that it was there as like a comfort or a security blanket, but I needed to prove that I can do it without it. And so, and to this day, I've never taken one since.
I thank you for breaking it down because I love the fact that when you're getting a diagnosis or you're getting a problem presented to you in the office, like your doctor's office, you're not saying, oh, okay, so what do you suggest? And just doing whatever they're telling you. You're still getting that mindset, okay, well, how do I not be dependent on that? Or how do I not allow this seed that you just planted, panic attacks for the rest of your life, to really just come over me and me saying, you know what, I'll identify with that. I'll take it. I'll accept that I'll have panic attacks for the rest of my life. And you didn't. You said, no, I'll go to therapy. I'll do stress reduction techniques. I'm going to learn breathing exercises, life exercises. I'm going to figure out how do I truly show up for me, love me, care for me, find the worthiness within myself to be able to not only advocate for myself, but create the life that I know I can live, despite what the medical professionals are telling me my life is going to look like from here on out, based on who I am and the state my body is in today. And I think that right there is enough for people to really get radical about what they're worth, what they deserve, and how they love and care for themselves, Sheri, because you can take a moment in that doctor's office and that could truly define you for the rest of your life. Or that could shift you into becoming who you really want to identify as. And you have the power to do either. And I think that's why I love so much the opportunities to have guests like you on the Empowered Place, Empire Lives podcast, because you really are showing us in that moment, how do we shift our identity? In that moment, how do we take our power back over what someone is speaking over our life or against our life? How do we say, okay, because of this diagnosis, I'll become a victim of this lifestyle, of this thing? And that's not the case at all. There's still something you can do about it. And I really appreciate you breaking that down.
No, and I love that you feel like that's the one thing that's so frustrating for me is people are afraid to advocate for themselves. I think as a collective, we look at doctors on this pedestal almost like they're gods and all knowing, but they're not. Like, it's called a practice. It's called a practice for a reason, that doesn't negate their experience and their abilities and their education at all. But no two people are going to have the same experiences internally and externally. And so I feel like oftentimes we have symptoms and we notice a pattern of symptoms, and then we'll test for this and then we'll test, but we don't know definitively. And so many people go to the doctor, and most people who had gone to that first doctor and was told that they had diabetes and fatty liver and cholesterol, they would have now identified as a fatty liver diabetic for the rest of their lives. And they would have victimized themselves and, yeah, I can't go out today, I'm a diabetic, and this and like that. And I want people to know that nothing is definitive. And one of the reasons that I am so heck bent, I don't know what the language thing is here, I'm so heck bent on mindset is I have an uncle who passed away a few years ago, but my uncle was somebody who has lived through brain tumors, quadruple bypass surgery, strokes, spinal meningitis, he's had the book thrown at him. And every single time doctors have told us as a family to come and say our goodbyes, because he was never going to walk again. He was never going to make it through this operation. And this man overcame everything because he refused to believe that he wasn't done. And so that was something that I've always adopted moving forward is a single piece of paper that has some dots on that have like a high and a low number. That's not going to define me for the rest of my life. You tell me if that line is off, what do I need to do to move that line into a direction that's satisfactory for you and keeps me healthy? I was somebody at 13 years old, they put on fen because that was the miracle drug in the 90s. And then people died from it. And then you're 13 years old and you're getting EKGs and you're getting tests to make sure that you didn't damage your heart. And then a year later, the next miracle drug comes out. So I grew up with, there's a pill for everything. You have a headache, take a pill. You have an ailment in your knee, take a pill. And it's like, why are we not learning what exercises do you do? Like if you're having chronic headaches, what's causing the headaches? I don't want to mask my life. I don't want to mask these problems. I want to find solutions. And so that's where my mindset has just completely shifted, is I don't want to ever be a victim of any circumstance or any ailment or any diagnosis. I want to be a survivor every single time.
I thank you for that. And I love that you brought in there's a pill for everything. And I recall that. And I think so many people get pill dependent or prescription dependent to the fact that it's like, okay, I'll take this medication and that's all I need to do because that's what the doctor told me. And it doesn't do anything with changing their food, doesn't do anything with changing their mindset, doesn't do anything in regards to how they're moving through life, how they're intentionally moving their body. It's not doing anything in regards to their lifestyle. And I feel like so many people are stuck experiencing and going through life and pushing through life because they're unaware of the lifestyle disruptors that are causing them to stay stuck, to stay in pain, and to only have that little bit of relief that medication might be providing them, but not knowing what else that could be happening in their body that they're doing. And I think it's powerful that you talked about how the doctors consistently came and told your family, okay, get ready to say your goodbyes to your uncle. Like, this is it. And he continued to overcome those things. And sometimes those moments are very fragile. Moments in a space when you're thinking about, is this it for someone's life, never knowing what miraculous things could potentially happen or shift in someone's body, because the body is so complex, but it's also so beautifully designed. And sometimes it's just the belief that you have in changing your diagnosis, the belief in changing your identity within the state of a diagnosis, just based on what condition your body is in. There's still this other level of, I don't know if it's spirituality or it's belief or just courageousness and how you're planning to overcome, and don't even see yourself in that state anymore, to where the brain is telling your body something totally different. And now it gets another chance to live because you're thinking, believing something different. And I think that's truly powerful, Sheri. But you said something earlier about PCOS. So, PCOS, hard to lose weight. Polycystic ovary syndrome is what PCOS stands for. Irregular periods, something I struggled with. Unexplained fatigue, and that they're often dismissed. What advice would you give to someone who feels unseen by the medical system right now, based on what they are experiencing in their life?
I would want to, number one, always advocate for yourself. There's always more that can be done. And if your doctor is not hearing you or dismissing you, there's always other doctors out there who will actively listen. The reason I say that is, again, I didn't have the best relationship with doctors my entire life. Being 18, I didn't realize there was no term for PCOS back then. I was always irregular. I was always bloated. I would have terrible, debilitating cramps. And I always had terrible joint pain. I don't know if the PCOS was causing the joint pain, but I was overweight my entire life. So at 18, I had terrible knee pains. And you go to one doctor and you're like, I have knee pains. And I want to fix it. And he goes, well, it's because you're fat. And then you cry. I'm 18. You hurt my feelings, doc. And then I left with a prescription for Vicodin and Prozac, because apparently I had depression issues. Because I cried in his office. No, I cried because you said something hurtful and hurt my feelings. And I feel that we're just constantly dismissed, especially with PCOS. If you have issues with losing weight, there's a stigma when you're overweight that you're not taken seriously. Like, well, if you just put the fork down and go for a walk, you won't have all these ailments. You'll lose the weight. No, when you have PCOS, it's like you have your own body working against you. And so it wasn't until I had one doctor out of 5 or 6 over the years, one doctor explained to me why my knees hurt. And she said, yeah, your weight does play a factor in it, but your quads are not strong. So when you have weak thigh muscles, your knees can be pulling to whatever one is more stronger at the moment. That causes, and she gave me a solution. She said, you work on these muscles, you're going to reduce your pain over the years. And I'm like, one doctor finally heard me and took me serious enough and actually genuinely wanted to help. So biggest advice, if you're not being heard, there is a doctor or a nurse practitioner or a professional who will hear you and who will also help advocate for you. But you have to learn to speak up.
You do. Definitely speak up. Speak up. Not only just speak up, come with documentation, data about your life, how it's impacting your life, what it showed, what you're missing out on your life based on the experiences that you are going through. How often it's showing up in your life. Is it every day? Is it every other day? Just really coming with a lot of data about you, showing that you're taking you serious enough to know that you're still in control of this thing, and not just placing all power in somebody else, but documenting your symptoms, your experiences in life, speaking up for yourself, sometimes even having someone with you. So then that way you have a witness, you have someone who's also going to be able to say, you forgot this or you forgot that, and they know enough about you to help advocate. That helps as well. And then finding someone you trust with your life, because it is your life. And this is a big thing, really navigating the healthcare system and finding people who you can trust, and they are doing things that in the way that you would like it be done. So Sheri clearly said she's not one for medication. So she's probably looking for people who are really to help her and tell her, what can I do in regards to my lifestyle? What can I
Right.
do and how I'm living to help this? Because I don't want to be dependent on medication, because that was her
Right.
decision. That's how she identified as a person. And so if you are someone who doesn't want to be dependent on medication, and we're not saying don't take the medication. We've heard when Sheri said, I had to take this medication to get through the day. What we're saying is, find your lifestyle disruptors, identify those lifestyle disruptors, those things that you might be doing in your life that's causing you to continue to be in the state or the condition that you're in. Is it helping you or is it hurting you? Find what you need to stop and find what you need to start doing more of. And so you deserve that journey. And it's okay if you don't know what that looks like. That's why you got a healthy habits and lifestyle coach, and you have someone, the founder of Bad-Assery, that type of mindset. So you'll know and get radical about this thing called life, because you're only given one. And I think that's the biggest part that I think is huge in regards to this part of the conversation. And so, y'all, I wanted to let you know, if you've ever been stuck in cycles of pelvic pain, fatigue, bloating, and in survival mode, it's not because you're weak. It's because your body is asking for a reset, for you to do a little investigative work, to give it a little bit more attention and love in the right ways that it needs. In my upcoming event, 5 costly mistakes that's keeping you stuck in pelvic pain and fatigue, and how to break free naturally, I reveal the exact shifts that move you through that hormonal chaos and inflammation into clarity, energy, and calm. This is where the guessing ends and your healing journey begins. So go to the show notes and register for the upcoming live training. So here we go, Sheri. You said something powerful in our pre-recording, and you said, I'm in a place of gratitude now, but I never used to feel good enough. What was the turning point that helped you rebuild your mindset from the inside out?
Wow, that's such a good question. I was somebody, being overweight your entire life, you're a people pleaser. So you exist in the worlds of everyone else around you that you are always seeking acceptance or love or validation from. I will say that in this weight loss journey and losing the weight and seeing how people treat you differently, when you're all of a sudden in their eyes either more socially accepting or aesthetically more pleasing on them, than people in jobs and old relationships and friends will treat you different. I'm also 44. I think something happens when you hit 40 and you start giving less F's about people's opinions on you. It's like, I've been through too much crap in my life. I will say that there was a couple times in my life where I hit like a personal rock bottom, like an emotional rock bottom, and knowing all of those people that you bent over backwards for, that you were people pleasing for, when it's time to, let's say, metaphorically collect on that debt kind of thing, and they're not there for you. And that was the realization for me. Like, there's nobody in this world who can truly take care of me. Like, I'm the only one who can really, people can be encouraging, people can offer advice, but I'm the only one who can pick myself up. I'm the only one that can pull myself out of it. I'm the only one. If I don't see value in myself, how is anybody going to see value? And I think that we live in a world in social media where we're constantly comparing ourselves, our looks, our attitudes, where we're at, our status on strangers off of the internet. And I think that hinders us in so many ways. And so I tell people, and I have to follow my own advice, the only competition, the only opinion that matters is the one in my reflection. No other opinion No other opinion is going to pay my bills or tuck me in at night or, make me feel safe and secure or help me lose weight. Only my reflection is the only one. So as long as I'm happy in the reflection with my life choices or my personal decisions, that's the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters.
I thank you for breaking that down, because I definitely can resonate with being a people pleaser. Like, ever since I was young, a people pleaser, hard to really speak my truth, because when people ask for my truth and I'm giving the insight, then they make me feel bad about what I just shared. Like, well, you shouldn't feel like this, or they've done this, they've done that. Why would you see, like, it's like, but you asked me and I honestly told you where I was coming from based on my perspective, my experience, my stance on something. And then as a child, like, I'm not thinking as an adult on why I feel or see things the way I do. But when you're asking me for it and I'm thinking it's a safe space, and then you turn around and use my words and my thoughts against me, it's just kind of like,
we
okay.
all do. yeah, we all did that. It's almost like when we were asking, like, well, tell me your thoughts. But when I say that, I want you to only tell me the thoughts that I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what I want
That
to hear.
part, and that's
So,
going to make me feel good. And
yeah.
okay, we're going to,
And
yeah.
so I've gotten to a place in life. And one thing that I've learned is playing by that rule, like telling you what you want to hear, you still abandon me, or we're still not friends anymore. So you're kind of danged if you do, danged if you're not. So at this point now, I've been honest, like with people and anybody in my personal circle knows, if you're going to ask for my advice, I'm going to give you my truth advice, like the true, like I'm going to speak from the heart. I'm going to speak my truth, and I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Because if I love you and I care for you, I should be allowed to be honest with my feelings and my emotions. If I'm being an ear for you and you have the right to do that, why shouldn't I? And if we're not close enough of friends where you can't handle the truth in either respect, then are we friends? Are we truly close? Or is it a facade of just, yeah, things are great, everything's good, and just pretending like everything's fine? Or, you did something bad. Well, it's not your fault. No, honey, sometimes it is your fault. Like sometimes you made a bad decision,
Yes, you do. But I like the people pleaser thing, and then seeking validation. Like that's a big thing, because when you are a people pleaser, you're always looking for that validation on the outside versus how do you really feel about yourself on the inside. I love when you said see value in yourself. When you're lacking the value in yourself, it shows, and it shows up inside of your body. It starts coming out in regards to chronic conditions, issues, symptoms. But on the outside, you now start to have an issue finding safe spaces and supportive places. And something else that you said I love was the only opinion that matters is in my reflection. Like that's powerful, because we have to get to a place where we are enough. We are enough for the decisions we make. We are enough for how we show up. We are enough to love. We are enough. And when we know that we are enough, so many barriers can be broken. So many obstacles could be overcome. So many shifts could happen. And I just really hope that whoever is listening right now and you're feeling like you don't have much value and that you have limiting belief in yourself, you have a lack of self-confidence, that the only person that you need right now is yourself. You don't need anybody but you. And something that you also said, Sheri, was when you're unable to be your true authentic self and you're unable to be in those spaces where you feel safe and your voice is being heard, you're abandoning you. And what does life look like when you abandon you? What does that feel like? Where do you think it will lead you if you continue to abandon yourself? Even if you're showing up for all these other people and you're getting that validation on the outside, abandoning yourself, what does that look like right now? So I want you to drop in the comments abandon. And I want you to just take a moment, even if you have to hit pause on this recording, on this episode, just to see, where in my life right now am I abandoning myself? Is it in how I show up with regards to my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs? Is it in how I'm choosing to eat? Is it how I'm choosing to move? Is it in the relationships that I'm having? Is it by not addressing the distress in my life? How am I abandoning myself? Is it because I'm paying more attention to others than myself? What does it look like? So I want you to take an inventory, an abandoned inventory of where you might be abandoning yourself right now, and commit to shifting or changing just one of those things that come up. Just one. And I want you to know, Sheri and I want you to know that you're worth shifting that one thing today. And then thinking about doing that same thing tomorrow, because it becomes a habit. And the more you start showing up for yourself, the less you'll abandon yourself, the more you'll love yourself, the more you believe in yourself, and the more you'll start feeling better in that one body that you're given, because you only have that one life to live. And so I really want you to make sure in this space that you're able to do that. So thank you, Sheri, for breaking that down. You talked about your mindset, and this big because you're a founder of it all, right? And you talked about having to go to change from this is too hard to I am in control of this. And this is a great place right now, based on us just talking about abandonment and how we're abandoning ourselves in our lifestyles. I want you to tell us, how do you help your clients shift into this same energy? This is too hard to I'm in control of this. even if they've failed before?
Well, one of the things that I work with clients is we try to reframe our self-talk. So there is no fail. Every failure is a learning opportunity, so I want people to understand that I think as a collective, we've all adopted this all or nothing mentality for so many years. And especially I work with a lot of people who are on like weight loss journeys that are working on the mindset part of their weight loss journeys. And I was like, when you think about kind of like what I was saying earlier, when you start a new fad diet or a new program, you feel like you have to cut everything out. And then what happens when you cut everything out? You obsess over it. People who give up things for New Year's resolution, no more sugar for 30 days. On day 2, you're obsessing over sugar because sugar is the constant focal point of your brain every single day, that you're going to obsess over it, so that when you do falter, you're going to binge and then you're going to overindulge because you're going to convince yourself, I'm not going to touch it again tomorrow. But then so the minute we make a bad decision, we beat ourselves down. And what happens? We deplete ourselves. We get into a negative headspace. We get into a depressive state. And then what do? We eat to cope. Now we try to feel good. And like, we just create this cycle over and over again. So it's kind of like trying to remove yourself from this all or nothing mentality and look at your day as hundreds of single moment decisions every single day. Deciding how you're going to respond to somebody who gives you an attitude at the supermarket, deciding for breakfast if you're going to make that healthy choice or you're going to cave and have something else. Having any one of those bad decisions does not define the rest of your day moving forward. Just because you had a bad breakfast or you went to a function with people and you had 2 bagels or something like that, that doesn't mean that you binge the entire day because your day is ruined. No, you start to be more self-aware of why we make these decisions. Is it because you were overly hungry in the morning? Did you not sleep well enough the night before? Is it that time of the month if you're female? Were you having do you have food noise? People talk a lot about food noise. Were you having an emotional day? Was it a stressful day? Once you can start to really identify the why for every decision you're making, then you can be more consciously aware for the rest of the day. And having people understand, like I said, one decision does not define who you are. It was one moment. Life is made up of hundreds of moments every single day, every single week, month, year. We are not to be defined by that one moment. So when we can learn to own our decisions, good or bad, what we've learned from that, and then how are we going to do it differently? And then the next time you approach a new situation or a new moment, you're going to think twice about it. And then the next time you're going to have a 2-3 second count before you make that decision. And it's about making 1% changes in your life and not having to think that everything's going to happen overnight. I've been working on mindset since I was young, like I didn't know what mindset was. There was no term for it. I don't own mindset. I did not create mindset. It was just something that for me, I called it stubbornness growing up. Is like, you tell me I can't do something, now I'm just going to prove you wrong. I didn't know at the time that was a mindset that I chose to adopt. But I think so many of us just give up too easy because, like you said, we just don't value ourselves or we're not worthy enough. But why? Why are we not worthy enough? Is it because other people, some stranger on the internet or some family member that we don't see on a regular basis determined our worth one day and then we decide to believe that?
Yeah. And when you talked about knowing everything will not happen overnight, it made me think about that one client that you had that couldn't walk for 30 seconds, and you was like, okay, we'll walk for the 30 seconds. And then I think it was after 3 weeks, they were able to walk what was it?
Yeah, there was somebody I was working with who was saying, we were just talking about getting movement in, and she's like, well, I can't, like, I'm like kind of disabled. I can't walk more than X amount of time. And other people in the group were walking 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes an hour. She goes, well, I can't do that. So I can't do anything. And I said, that's not true. We have to find what you can do. And I said, can you walk for 10 seconds? Can you walk for 30 seconds? And she almost laughed, like, Sheri, I can do 30 seconds. I said, good. Then do 30 seconds, set a timer and just walk for 30 seconds and then sit down. And then if a couple hours go by, you set no timer for 30 seconds. And then if you start it's about being consistent. It's about telling yourself that you can overcome this. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's little changes. And then within 3 weeks, she sent me a message that she was able to walk 3 or 4 minutes without being in pain. And she was so elated. Whereas I think we're so worried that people are going to laugh at us. Oh, you could only do 3 minutes. Who gives a crap? They're not living your life. You just did something amazing.
Or in your body.
They're not in your body. They might not be able to survive if they were in your body. They probably would have given up a long time ago. Give yourself grace, celebrate every single win. 30-second walk or a 30-mile bike ride, whatever it is, celebrate your win.
Agreed. I love it. So I got one, reframe the self-talk. No failure, just a lesson. And cutting things out just drastically, going cold turkey and cutting out a lot of things at one time could create an obsession for it. Instead of really being able to create this lifestyle of sustainability in an area that you want to go in versus just taking something out and then knowing you're just going to come right back to it. And it was just that one space. Sometimes I feel like, though, Sheri, when people are able to cut things out, they're able to get that experience of what life looks like without it. And then they can, if done the right way, they can identify, how can I sustainably continue with this because I want to keep feeling this good and I understand my why because I've had this experience, versus others where it's more so a short-term goal. So it's a short-term cutoff. And that's why life kind of just goes right back to where they were prior to.
Right.
But 2 daily decisions throughout the day and their why. I think that's truly powerful because you get to decide what you eat. You can decide whether you move or you don't move. You get to decide what your true thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are and how they shape your behaviors, which in then turn around and create the lifestyle that you're living, your true and real reality. And so I like that you talked about it. You said the term consciously aware. And sometimes when people are consciously aware, it agitates people who want to live in this almost false reality that they're just invincible and they can do whatever, whenever, and there's really no consequences on the choices that they make today, knowing that it's leading into something. And I just want to take a moment right here just to say, it took a 4-hour surgery for me to realize that my lifestyle was causing deep root inflammation in my body that led to stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, and they found 2 fibroids in March 2020. I thought I was living a healthy life. I thought I was doing enough to show up, to be okay, to be normal. And if my body didn't respond the way that it did, I don't know what it would look like long-term in the event that I didn't address and start changing some things once I understood what was going on in my body. That understanding led to a lifestyle change. I didn't become a victim of endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, or fibroids. I actually became more victorious and was able to find more purpose in life and loving life, and then creating those experiences allowed me to create this platform, allowed me to have the courage and the confidence to show up and help other people identify what those lifestyle disruptors are. And it's almost as if we're getting this sense of purpose, Sheri. Like we lived in this space of not really knowing and understanding. And once we reach a certain level of awareness, it's as if you want other people to feel it too. It's as if you get into this space of service and making sure that the mess you are in becomes a message, and that you use the things that you felt were more, I guess, overcoming and overwhelming that you didn't have power for. You get the power to, and you start changing and transforming your life and then others. And it becomes this movement. And we're going to get into your movement next, but I just wanted to say that because it just kind of resonated with me. And then the third thing you mentioned was knowing that everything would not happen overnight. And if it did happen overnight, how sustainable would it be? How could you live happy and peaceful and excited about the life and the decisions that you're making, and making sure that it truly aligns with who you are? If you're not a biker, then biking is not going to be the movement that you fall in love with. It could be dance. It could be just walking. Like, you won't know. It could be Qigong and all these other things that's out there to do, but you won't know it if you don't embrace that journey and you start really figuring out what this looks like for you. And the last thing you talked about was identifying what you can do and tell yourself that you can overcome this. And it's in the actions that you build the confidence. It's in the actions that you become who it is that you believe yourself to become.
Right.
And even if you don't fully believe it, just keep doing it enough and you're going to become that person. You're going to become that thing, that powerful being that you truly are, because it's in the doing that you become and you evolve into it. And so I really am grateful that you broke it down to us, how you really help people move from this is too hard to
Right.
I'm in control of this thing. I have some power and some say so over this thing called life. So let's talk about, I'm gonna say MOBA, but I don't know if it's the MOBA, but the Master of Bad-Assery. What does it really mean to be the master of your own badassery? And how can someone start stepping into that identity right now, no matter their size or their story?
So the thing that I love about this whole movement behind MOBA is MOBA is going to mean something different to everyone. MOBA is not a fitness journey. It is not a weight loss journey. It's not a financial. It's not about relationships. It's about whatever is stopping you, whatever roadblock you have. It's having the belief that you can conquer it, learning how to adapt and conform to change. The one thing that we are guaranteed in life is change, whether we want it or not. But having the attitude that we can find a solution, we can adapt, and we can make it work for our benefit, that's what it's all about. So whether you want to apply that ideology towards your finances, towards how you treat relationships, towards your job, towards your health and wellness goals, it's all encompassing. It started as a single t-shirt. I was working during the pandemic. I think everyone knows what happened in March of 2020. The entire
was it my 4-hour surgery that was
I
supposed
think
to
it was
just
your 4-hour surgery. I think
was it that story?
Yeah.
Or
I think we were all suffering your surgery with you in March of 2020.
right before I got up, the whole world changed.
But like what COVID taught us is that at any given moment, the rug can get pulled out from every single one of us, and no one was immune. If you were rich, you were not immune from it. It wasn't whether your race, your religion, your background, your sex, nothing mattered. It was an equal opportunity destroyer of everyone's lives and livelihoods. And what I witnessed just on social media was so much anger and hatred and people fighting with each other. And when you pull back the layers, it was more fear. It was projected fear that, people are fighting over masks and fighting over this and everything. And I was getting consumed by it and not being able to, and having lost 175 pounds. And after 3 days of lockdowns, I went to the fridge 600 times and binged 3 different shows on Netflix over 3 days. And it was the first true panic attack since my nervous breakdown. And I still had those pills. They were like 4 years old or whatever, but I did not touch them. But I knew I can't live like this. I have already experienced it once. I am not going backwards. So I got myself a job at a Walgreens in Santa Clarita, California. And I had not worked retail in 20 years. And I've never worked retail in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. It is highly not encouraged to have those kind of lofty goals, because I was coming to work and getting yelled at every day. There was no sanitizer. There was no toilet paper. This wasn't working. People were so angry and frustrated, and it was my fault for everything. And I'm like, why did I volunteer to get signed up to be treated? It was like watching humanity just be so ugly. And one night, my back was hurting. I was like, I didn't even need this job. I was trying to, do something good, and I couldn't take it anymore. And so I literally decided I had 2 options. I can feed into it like everyone else is doing, or I can be creative and make my shift go by faster. So a customer came to the register. He had a mask on. His eyes were down. He was not even giving me contact. And I said, hey, hypothetically, everything's open tomorrow. The restaurants are open. Where are you taking me to dinner? And he looked up and he goes, what? Like an attitude. And I'm like, oh God, abort mission. Like, and I was like, but I said, no, hypothetically, everything's open tomorrow. The restaurants are open. Where are we going for dinner? And he goes, Maria's. And I was like, the Mexican place. And he goes, yeah, I haven't been there in forever. And we started talking about the fajitas, and we started talking about Taco Tuesday. And by the time he left, he had a mask on. You can tell with his eyes. He kind of had a smirk like, huh. And I thought it was a fluke. So I had to work my shift for another 4 hours. So every single customer that came to the register, I asked them the same question. And then it was sushi places. And then it was this one little place in LA. And one by one, everyone's attitude changed. And I think what it was is for the first time in months, there was just a glimmer of hope that this is going to be over at some point. We're not just living in this. And so I was so elated because I was like, I was able to change their attitude today with a single question. And I came home and I told my husband, I said, dude, I could change the world by asking people where to go for dinner. And I was like making jokes about it. And I was like, I was a Master of Bad-Assery tonight, you know? And it was just something that I used to throw around as a joke at home. And he goes, you should put it on a shirt. I'm like, no one's going to buy that on a freaking t-shirt or whatever. And he goes, how do you know? I was like, bet. I know nothing about the clothing industry, but I can, figure it out. And by December of 2020, we had our very first MOBA shirt printed and out there. And then it just started as like a couple of t-shirts here and there, but we knew nothing about the clothing. We knew nothing about how to promote on social media. So for a couple of years, nothing really much happened with it. And then one day I was on TikTok, I was separated. I was going, and I was going through a hard time and isolation and depression. And somebody brought me up on a panel on a TikTok live in a bariatric community. And somebody noticed one of the hats that I had. And they're like, that's a cool hat. And I was like, yeah, it's a brand that I own or whatever. And they went out on the website that night. It was the first online sale I had made in probably 4 or 5 months. And then they made a video on TikTok about it. And then 2 more orders came in, and then they would get the orders and then they would make videos. And then before we knew it, I had totally different topic for another day, but I had done the 75 hard challenge, and I was doing I was doing the phase 3 of the 75 hard. And I was just talking about it on TikTok. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we want a challenge. So there was like this nationwide plank challenge happening. So we started going live on TikTok every day, and we would do this plank challenge as a group. And then people started coming up in their MOBA hats and their MOBA shirts. And it just kind of created like this community of everybody moving. And people were like, well, I can't do a plank. Well, if you can't do a full plank, you can do an assisted plank. You can do it against a tabletop. You can do it against a wall. Like the point is like, if you want to accomplish something, you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter where you start, as long as you make the decision to start, and then you're always going to improve from there. Just stop selling yourself short, or keep telling yourself you can, or I'm going to try. No, if you try, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even attempted it. And like I hate when people say, like, we were going back to the medical world and stuff, when people like say you have a 12% chance of survival, or, oh, there's a 12% chance you're going to regain all your weight, or there's a 37%. No, it's 50-50. Either it's going to happen or it's not. Either you're going to survive the surgery or you're not. You're either going to do the push-up or you're not. Like, if you stop giving yourself this limited belief in yourself, you're not going to know until you attempt it. And if you quote unquote fail at it, what did you learn? What do you have to work on? Is it because your core is a little weaker? Is it because, your legs are kind of hurting too much? Okay, then you work on your legs and you take a step back and you reroute, you adapt, and then you keep forward until you hit your goal.
Well, I appreciate you for bringing all of that down. Like, I got it down. So the MOBA mentality is unique to everyone. Belief that you can conquer challenges and then adapt to the change. And I think that that's a vibe within itself. I love that it started as a t-shirt, beginning within that pandemic movement. And so it started with the shirt. You had the shirt. You really wasn't making a lot of sales, the first few years. But once you had the shirt on and you were sharing a pivotal moment of your story in this thing called life, they connected your story to the shirt's movement. And then the movement became a challenge that was happening, and it created a community. And so I'm really grateful that you had that courage. I want to talk about the word try. And when you say try and you're putting try out there in the atmosphere, it's almost as if you're failing before you even get started, because you're not even sure if it's really going to happen yourself. So the belief isn't all there. And then you said the word do. And when you have the word do, you're committed to take action. And so if you're still vibing with us in this conversation, drop the word do in the comments. D-O, do. When you are committed to taking more action, to loving yourself, healing yourself, but most importantly, living with more purpose. And so I want you to do those things. So comment the word do if you're committed to taking action and being committed to living the life that you know you deserve and creating that shift in identity. I kind of just want to do a moment just in regards to the shirts, because maybe there's other people out there that has a shirt brand and the brand isn't popping just quite yet. It's not converting and you didn't know, but they started this t-shirt business or this e-commerce store, and they have slogans, or maybe they just have this brand and it's not out there. What would you tell some people, some tips based on your experience in regards to just having merch? What would be some tips that you would give them right now that would help them not just make sales, but really truly create that movement and that sense of community just by having the merch on?
I would say step number one is, if you're not having fun with it, you should not be doing it. If you are only doing it to make money, which is very lofty, but there's the clothing industry alone is so difficult. It's so hard to compete in. Number one, you have to have passion for it. Because if you don't have passion and it's just a quote unquote jobby job, you're never going to be successful with it. The minute that it stops being fun, I have said, the moment that MOBA stops being fun, I will walk away from it, because that's not something that I want to do. Number two, you're going to make mistakes. Like, it's inevitable. Like, you're not going to just make a t-shirt logo and it's just going to go viral. Well, granted, it's a 50-50. Either it's going to happen or it's not. 50% chance it's going to happen, but likely, I'm not going to be negative. It's possible, but I think be passionate and know that you're going to make mistakes, and instead of beating yourself down, to learn from it. It depends on if you're going to be doing it. Like, I started doing it myself, pressing it by myself with like a DTF print and a little heat press. And I would go online, and it's about just being out there. I've learned that putting it on a website and doing paid promotions on a Google or something like that is not going to bring people. It's not going to bring the boys to the yard, to be honest. Like, it's about putting yourself out there. Like, they're buying. If you have a brand, they're buying you first, because they can get your logo or your slogan on any shirt on Amazon or whatever, but people are going to come to you because they believe in you. If you are your brand, if you are an example of your brand, they are going to, any kind of sales job, they're buying you, not the product. The product is just a bonus, but it's like, if you're impacting lives. Now, granted, if you just want to have a t-shirt with some crazy sayings or some funny sayings or whatever, then maybe we're not having the same conversation. But if you're creating a brand, you have to be a representation of your brand. And then that's what's going to bring people there.
I like it. That's good. And actually, I kind of separated too. So one, have fun with it. You have to have fun with it. Two, have passion about your brand. Like, just don't have it just to have it, just to be making money. Be really intentional with it. How does this, I don't want to say attach to you, but how is this a part of you? How are you giving a piece of you to the world?
Right.
Three, you will make mistakes, so just embrace it. But four, put yourself out there, because people aren't necessarily buying the product. They're buying you, a sense of you, your vibe, your purpose, your mission, your light, your love, your reminder, your affirmation to the people out there to help you with creating that movement. So I think that was a good way to really put people into a good perspective when it comes to shirts or merch, when it comes to a brand and creating that intentional movement. What are some of your favorite tools or non-negotiables when it comes to staying consistent, Sheri? Even when life feels messy or that motivation disappears. Your favorite tools or non-negotiables to help stay consistent.
That's so hard, because it always varies. For me, in the place that I'm at right now, I always do self-reflection. That's the one thing that I do. I've had, like, we can do a whole nother episode on just the last year that I've had in life, but I am always learning from every single day, like what I can take away from it. And so whether it's good or like, I've had really crap days, like we all have. What have I learned from it? I've had really, really good days. I learned to have gratitude for it. So I try to have an emotion to every day that I've had. I want to bring it back. There's something that you said earlier about documenting like with your health journey, and not just about your medical history, but about your life. Document your life. You know, when you're having that really good day, write it down. Write down why it was so good. When you're having that really bad day, write it down why it was so bad. Because one, these are just moments in time. You know, this moment is not going to last forever, but there's something to be said when you're having the good days and you can look back on those bad days and how low you felt and how negative you felt and why you had to, because what you learned from it propelled you for what you're accomplishing today. And when you have those really, really good days, it's about being humble because you remember where you came from, you know, and never forget that. And when it comes to your medical stuff, document how you're feeling, you know, document your symptoms, document your attitude, document how you're feeling. When you go to a doctor I'm 44, so a doctor is not going to be able to sum up 44 years in a 10-minute conversation. He's literally looking at some numbers on a piece of paper and making a general assessment. It's you, no one's like you said, no one's going to advocate for you. No one's going to advocate for your mindset, for your personal health, for your emotional health. Only you have to decide. And we have two choices every day. We can either choose to be a victim of our surroundings, or we can choose to be a survivor of our surroundings and how we're going to beast through it. And every day we make a choice.
Yes, ma'am. So one, document your life, good or bad. That could be any form of documentation, whether you have a tracker, you're keeping notes. It could be journaling, gratitude journal, reflection of your day, things that went well, things that didn't go well. And then two, choosing whether or not you're going to be a victim or a survivor, a conqueror, a thriver for that day. And I think those are some definitely good non-negotiables. And just even, and I said it, when it comes to gratitude, it's just finding something to be grateful for that is right, that you do appreciate, because so much of life can life in a moment, in a day. And we don't want you to think that everything is all goodness and happy and high vibes. But when you're able to be grateful for just a few things, your body responds differently. Your mind starts to respond differently. And there's a shift that can happen radically inside that can help you on the outside of this thing called life. And again, that goes right back to your mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs about even the little small things that can make a massive change in what you see in life and how you feel in life, even within moments. And so I'm really grateful that you brought that into the conversation. If a listener is tuned in today and feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or even ashamed, Sheri, what's one small promise they can make to themselves to start changing their life tomorrow?
My biggest advice is it starts with a single decision that you want to change. Even if you don't know how the change is going to happen yet, just making the decision that you want to work for it. And then from there, I'm a firm believer in SMART goals and setting small, attainable goals. Reach out to people. There is always somebody out there who can help in your specific situation. There are resources. We live in a world of the internet and everything is at our fingertips, resources, help. And also you are a product of your environment. So the people who are closest to you, look around and maybe your people in the chat can kind of do a reflection. Look at the 5 closest people you talk to on a regular basis. Are they genuinely or generally negative or generally positive? Because you become a product of your environment. So start looking at your surroundings. And if you're constantly around negative people, you're always going to stay negative. But if you start finding yourself 1 or 2 positive people and putting your energy into that, you start attracting more positive people. And then all of a sudden you start attracting your own little village of people who will support you and help you and listen to you and make you feel heard. And that's how it starts.
So those small promises, 1, deciding that you want to work towards the change, because it's going to take work. It's going to take action. It's not going to come and fall into your lap. It's just not going to come and lay itself upon over your life and cover you. Like deciding that you want to work for the change, take action towards the things that you believe for yourself. 2, seek help. And that could come within resources, a person, a guide, a coach, more information, more experiences, putting yourself in different spaces to get the help. And then 3, the product of your environment. What does your environment look like? And like Sheri said, let's drop the word environment. Do an environment inventory. Check what is in your environment, whether it's people, places, things that could be toxic, things that could be reminding you of triggering your traumas, or things that's keeping you consistently stuck. Is it the processed foods that you can go and grab? Is it the stuff that you're watching on TV? Is it the people that you're around that are low vibrational or always have problems and they're never upbeat and living with purpose and intention? Is it people who want to hear your problems and just talk about the problems and not identifying solutions and ways and things that can change or connect you to those things? So really take an inventory of your environment to see if there are things in that space that's keeping you from being able to truly move in the direction of change that you want to go into. So I appreciate it. All right, Sheri, it's time for our Vitality Sparks round. So fast round, quick fire responses. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. What's a belief about yourself you had to let go of to rise into your next level?
That I wasn't good enough.
What's a morning habit or mindset shift that changed your life the most?
It's very weird. I play when I have my coffee in the morning, I play puzzles and I don't talk to anybody. And it's my way of activating my brain for the day and getting ready for the day.
Finish this sentence. The moment I stopped waiting for permission to change was the moment I finally.
I'm terrible at this. What was the question again?
The moment I stopped waiting for permission to change was the moment I finally.
I'm not very, you put me on.
You're just finishing the sentence. You're just finishing the sentence.
The moment I stopped
waiting for permission to change was the moment I finally.
I was free. So I'm not an audio person. I'm a visual person. So
you're all good.
Specific
what
moment. I was
being
free.
a master of bad-assery feel like in your body and in your soul?
Pride. Yeah.
If a listener made just one shift today, what would you want it to be?
The belief that you can.
All right, let's get into the final 2 signature questions. Give some advice for the girl dads, the father figures, the role models, the husband, the spouses, the brothers of those dealing with pelvic pain, heavy periods, bloating, endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, fibroids. How could they best be a part of this healing journey and support?
Number 1, find a doctor that will listen to you. First and foremost, find a doctor that'll make you feel heard. Number 2, there's a lot of different remedies that you can do to help, especially like increasing your water, certain foods. There's a lot of foods that help with reducing inflammation. There's a lot of foods that help regulate your hormones, so finding the right rhythm for you. But there's so many things out there that you can do. It's not like how it was decades and decades ago. It's going to be trial and error, and you and I can each give the same certain suggestions to people because that might have worked for us, but what works for us might not work for you. But know that there is a method that will work for you. We just have to sift through the trial and error to get there,
which is very valuable. So if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, body issues, definitely take heed of all of that. But Sheri, what are the dads doing? What are the boyfriends doing? What should they be doing to be a part of this support system?
I think that I think communication is always the hardest part in any relationship. Learning how to communicate to your partner. They're not, and you, as women, we have to understand they're never going to go through what we're going through, so we have to be mindful that they're never going to be able to truly relate. So having them try to fill this void of support is only going to cause more friction and more frustration on your part. If you can just express to them what you're feeling and leave it at that, there's so many other people that you can talk to, you're in relationships. One partner cannot fill every single void in your life and every single piece in your life. Don't make them have to be obligated to be that heavily involved in this one aspect of your life.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good. All right. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
Oh my gosh. Oh, my idol growing up was Lucille Ball because she was a strong, fierce, did not put up with any crap from anyone, and she was a pillar. She reinvented the entertainment industry, and being a woman in a male-dominated world, when she was told she couldn't, Lucille Ball was told at a young age that she was never going to be famous because she wanted to be a dancer. And so she wasn't a very good dancer. So they told her to basically give it up. And she said, no, I don't like that option. And she became one of the most famous comedians in all of human history. So and what we would eat would probably be something, I feel like it'd be something Italian, some kind of like noodles or some kind of like, yeah.
Okay. I'm with it.
Mhm.
I'm with it. Some noodles, some Italian food with
Yes.
Lucille Ball, who clearly embodied the MOBA mentality
Facts.
before you even had on the
Before
shirt.
there's an acronym, she was the acronym.
Let's go. All right, Sheri, let everybody know where they can find you and connect with you.
You can go to the website, mobamentality.com. I am also on TikTok, MOBA_Sheri. All of our information is on the website, though. We also run a community Discord server, Master of Bad-Assery, where we offer challenges in there. We do support groups. We talk about nutrition and fitness. We bring professionals in to help people on their health and wellness journeys. We do events. Next week, we are doing a 15K Tough Mudder as a MOBA family in Lebanon, Tennessee. So we are going to be doing 10 miles in mud and obstacles and living in mindset in real time on what people are actually capable of.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Sheri, for being an amazing guest, sharing your experiences and just creating that space to reminding people what they are possible of becoming. And so, y'all, I just want y'all to know that you don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to make one choice to stop giving up on yourself. It's your Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach Jovonnie, host of the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast. And I just want y'all to know that you got this. You got this. All it takes is for you to know that so you can start doing, believing, and living in that identity. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.